You think you know how big you are, but you don't, and by the end of this video, that comfortable illusion will be gone. You wake up every morning, take up space, bump into furniture, and feel substantial, but in 1543, a Polish astronomer named Nicolaus Copernicus published a book that began humanity's longest eviction notice. We weren't at the center of anything, and every century since then, the eviction has continued. Each generation discovers we're smaller than the last one thought. More peripheral, more cosmically homeless. And here's the thing, nobody tells you that eviction isn't finished, because you're about to feel it happen again right now in the next few minutes. When you trace this question all the way out, when you genuinely comprehend, not just intellectually, but viscerally, how small you are, something restructures in your brain, something most people spend their entire lives successfully avoiding. This is a journey, and you may not like where it ends. Start simple, with your feet on solid ground. The planet feels enormous because you could travel your whole life and never see all of it. Ancient civilizations thought Earth was everything, that the sky was a dome with lights poked through, and the Babylonians mapped the stars onto that dome, while the Greeks calculated Earth's circumference with surprising accuracy. 25,000 miles around, vast enough that a commercial airplane needs 2 days of continuous flight to circle the globe. But here's the twist that Copernicus started and Galileo confirmed through his telescope. In 1610, Earth is one planet, just one, and those textbook diagrams showing Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune as marbles sitting next to each other are lying to you. They have to lie, because if they showed real distances to scale, you'd see nothing but the Sunday. You'd have to walk out of the building, across the parking lot, and down the street just to find Earth. A grapefruit on your desk represents the sun in this scale model, and Earth becomes a grain of sand sitting 15 feet away. Jupiter shrinks to a pea 80 feet out, while Neptune sits over 500 feet from your grapefruit, which means 5 football fields of emptiness contain our one solar system. We're not a cozy family of planets, but specks scattered across void, held in gravitational bondage by a thermonuclear furnace that has no idea we exist. And this is usually where people stop thinking they understand that the solar system is big. They haven't understood anything yet. Beyond our solar system sit other suns, billions of them, and the nearest one after ours carries the name Proxima Centauri. 4 light years separate us from that star, with a light year being the distance light travels in 1 year at 186,000 miles per second, the cosmic speed limit Albert Einstein identified in his special relativity. 1 year of travel at that speed covers about 6 trillion miles, and Proxima Centauri sits 4 of those distances away. NASA's Voyager 1 launched in 1977 and still transmits from interstellar space as the farthest human-made object from Earth. That spacecraft travels at 38,000 miles per hour, and reaching Proxima Centauri at that speed would take over 73,000 years, which is longer than anatomically modern humans have existed. You'd launch the spacecraft, and human civilization would rise and fall again while the ship kept traveling. That's the nearest star, just the next dot over. Our Milky Way galaxy contains somewhere between 200 and 400 billion stars, because we can't count them precisely. NASA's Kepler Space Telescope confirmed that most of those stars host planets, which means trillions of worlds exist in our galaxy alone. The Milky Way stretches 100,000 light years from edge to edge, and that's 100,000 years of light traveling at its impossible speed just to cross from one side to the other. Now, this is where it gets uncomfortable. Our galaxy, this massive pinwheel, so vast that light takes 100,000 years to span it, is one galaxy, just one. In 1995, astronomers pointed the Hubble Space Telescope at a patch of sky that looked completely empty, a tiny dark square about the size of a grain of sand held at arm's length. They let the telescope stare for 10 days, collecting ancient light, and what they found became the Hubble Deep Field. That empty patch contained over 3,000 galaxies, each one a collection of hundreds of billions of stars. The most recent estimates, refined by the James Webb Space Telescope's infrared vision, suggest roughly 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe, and each of those 2 trillion collections contains hundreds of billions of stars. Multiply 2 trillion by 200 billion, and you get a conservative estimate of stars in the observable universe, a number with no intuitive meaning. More stars exist than grains of sand on every beach on Earth. More stars than all the words ever spoken by every human who ever lived. And every one of those stars is a sun, with most of them hosting planets. The universe is drowning in real estate. But that phrase, observable universe, keeps appearing, and it means something specific. Light has a speed limit, and the universe has an age of about 13.8 billion years since the Big Bang, so we can only see light that has had time to reach us. Beyond a certain distance, the light simply hasn't arrived yet, which gives us a cosmic horizon, a boundary beyond which we literally cannot see. The observable universe spans about 93 billion light years in diameter. And beyond that horizon sits more universe. Cosmologists suspect it could be infinite, which makes us like fish who can only see partway across a bowl that might have no edges at all. And here's something even stranger that the diagrams definitely don't show you. Everything described so far, the 2 trillion galaxies and the 100 billion trillion stars, accounts for only about 5% of what's actually out there. The rest of the universe, roughly 95% of it, consists of dark matter and dark energy, substances we can detect gravitationally, but cannot see or touch or yet explain. We are luminous crumbs, floating in an ocean of invisible mystery. And the visible universe, in all its impossible vastness, is the small part. Now bring it back to you, standing on your planet. Earth is one world orbiting one star in one galaxy, in a universe containing roughly 100 billion trillion stars, most of which have planets, all of which compose only 5% of total cosmic content that possibly extends infinitely beyond our observable horizon. Drawing a map of the universe and marking Earth on it would be impossible, because the dot would be too small to render, too small to exist at that scale. Some people find this terrifying and feel erased and insignificant, wondering what the point is if we're this small. Here's where the obvious conclusion breaks down. The physicist Enrico Fermi asked a question over lunch in 1950 that still haunts science. If the universe is so vast and ancient and filled with potential homes for life, where is everybody? That question became the Fermi paradox. SETI radio telescopes have searched the skies for decades and found nothing but silence. The universe manufactures galaxies in industrial quantities, but minds and consciousness seem vanishingly rare. The Drake equation suggests other civilizations should exist, and even if millions of them are scattered across the cosmos, that's still almost nothing compared to all the dead rock and empty vacuum and burning plasma comprising most of existence. And yet here you are. You're a collection of atoms that the universe spent 13.8 billion years assembling. Those atoms were forged in the cores of dying stars, scattered by supernova explosions, gathered by gravity into planets, and organized by chemistry into molecules. Somehow, through processes, we're still mapping those molecules, started copying themselves and competing and evolving. Carl Sagan said it best when he called us star stuff, the brain you're using right now. The iron in your blood and the calcium in your bones and the oxygen you're breathing were all cooked inside stellar furnaces and ejected into space in catastrophic stellar deaths. We are literally made of the ashes of dead stars, and those ashes woke up. They became curious and invented telescopes and calculus and poetry. They built the Hubble and the James Webb and asked where we came from and how big everything is and where we fit. No other species does this. Dolphins are intelligent and corvids use tools and octopi solve puzzles, But only humans gaze at the Andromeda galaxy and wonder, and only humans feel small and ask what smallness means. Here's another way to see it. Imagine Earth from space, and from low orbit you see cities at night glowing like neurons in a planetary brain with hurricanes swirling and ice caps gleaming. The planet looks alive and important. Pull back to the moon's distance and Earth fits behind your thumb held at arm's length. With every war and every symphony and every heartbreak and every triumph, all behind your thumb. Pull back further to Saturn's orbit and Earth becomes a single pixel. In 1990, Carl Sagan convinced NASA to turn Voyager 1's camera around and photograph Earth from 3.7 billion miles away, and the result was a pale blue dot suspended in a sunbeam. Everything you've ever known and everyone you've ever loved and every civilization that rose and crumbled, all of it exists on that tiny point of light. Keep pulling back, and from outside the solar system, Earth vanishes completely. From another star system, you couldn't confirm our sun has planets. And from Andromeda, you couldn't find the sun among hundreds of billions of identical stars. Our entire existence becomes invisible noise. That's how small you are. But here's what saves this from despair and elevates it into something like awe. You know that you are small. A rock doesn't know it's a rock, and a star doesn't know it's burning, but you, a tiny organism on a tiny planet in an average solar system, in an ordinary galaxy, in a possibly infinite universe, you contain the knowledge of your own cosmic insignificance. You're contemplating it right now, and that requires something the universe rarely builds, which is consciousness and awareness and the capacity for wonder. The cosmos seems to make minds sparingly, and you are the universe's way of examining itself. You're how matter discovers where it came from. And that makes you precious not despite your smallness, but because of it. You're small and yet you know, brief and yet you wonder. People ask if contemplating the cosmos makes a person feel insignificant, and the answer is that it makes a person feel connected. We are not separate from the universe peering in from outside because we grew out of it and we're part of it. The same physical laws governing the most distant galaxies govern the neurons firing in your brain right now, and the same atoms making up stars make up your bones. No barrier exists between you and the cosmos, and there never was one. When you look up at the night sky, you're not observing something foreign, because every star is a cousin and every galaxy is an ancestor. The light reaching your eyes from Andromeda started traveling 2.5 million years ago, before Homo sapiens existed and before most complex life on Earth had evolved. That ancient light is completing its journey on your retina right now, triggering signals your brain interprets as a faint smudge. A 2.5 million year old message arriving in atoms that were themselves once inside ancient stars. That's not nothing, that's everything. The size of the universe isn't a threat to your meaning, but an invitation. The cosmos built you, and now you're the cosmos trying to understand itself. You have perhaps 80 years if you're lucky, and if medicine advances, and if accidents spare you, 80 years to participate and learn and wonder and add your voice to the conversation that started when the first human looked up and asked what that light in the sky was. The universe doesn't care about you because it can't, since caring requires consciousness, and the universe is mostly hydrogen, which has a poor track record for emotional depth. But you can care about the universe and study it and celebrate it and preserve its knowledge for future generations who will continue exploring after you're gone. That's the exchange. You don't receive significance by cosmic decree, but you get the opportunity to participate in the greatest story ever told, which is the story of matter waking up. You are small, a mote of dust on a mote of dust, orbiting a spark in an ocean of sparks, in one of 2 trillion island universes, floating in possibly infinite space, 95% of which remains invisible and unexplained. And you are miraculous. You are atoms awakened, star stuff that learn to ask about stars, the piece of the cosmos that wonders, the piece that knows. Knowing that genuinely should restructure how you live. Every morning you wake up on a ball of rock, hurtling at 67,000 miles per hour around a nuclear reactor that could contain 1 million Earths, in a galaxy of hundreds of billions of similar systems, in a universe of trillions of similar galaxies, most of whose contents we cannot see or name. You are impossibly small and unbelievably lucky, and you have today. What you do with it is up to you.